Please don't run. We don't need a health and safety accident happening. Slowly make your way to your chairs. Before I introduce our last speakers for ShipItCon 2025, I just have two quick announcements. The Elastic booth was running a competition and they've emailed the winners. So Lee, Gia, and Gabby, if you haven't checked your email, y'all got a little prize. So make your way over to the Elastic booth and then they'll be able to give you your prize. The second thing is there was a pair of Ray-Bans, trendy, hipster, expensive, that were found. They're actually in the main reception. So if you did come in with a pair of Ray-Bans and they're no longer on your person, I'd make your way over to Claire in reception, but you need to tell her what they look like first. It's not a first come, first serve, okay? Perfect. Okay, guys, I always get really excited when ShipItCon is coming up because we have amazing line of speakers. The people that are attending are absolutely amazing as well. But then I get really sad as well because we've heard so many insightful talks, conversations. It's been thought-provoking as well as inspiring. And as sad as I am to announce our final speakers for today, I'm also really, really honored and really appreciative that I've been able to share today with you. So without further ado, I will introduce the last speakers for ShipItCon 2025. Crazy, I know. I really want to say, hey DJ, can you play Save the Best for Last? But I won't. So our last speakers for ShipItCon is the dynamic duo comprised of Rob Meaney and Darryn Downey. So Rob Meaney is no stranger to ShipItCon. I'm sure you've seen him a couple of times. I refuse to call him Rob. What I actually usually call him is SpongeBob Test Pants, and I will never let him forget. He always says it to me. He's like, is there anything else? Absolutely not. That is it. That is your name, SpongeBob Test Pants. And is well known in the tech community as well. A tester that leaves tough testing and software delivery problems. Rob is the co-founder of Ministry of Test Cork, a systems thinker that enjoys working with people from across the business in pursuit of a shared business outcomes. SpongeBob will be joined by Darryn Downey, an engineering manager over a few teams which he fell into but enjoys helping folks learn and grow. Featured in The Worst Dressed at Glastonbury Festival 2017 in GQ. If you click the link, scroll all the way to the bottom, you will find him in the photo. He wasn't on the list, but he's in the photo, so you will definitely see him there. He's passionate about removing blockers and empowering teams, described as consistent and a reliable technical help. Similar to our earlier speakers, a true MVP. Guys, I want you to make as much noise as possible, please, for our last speakers for 2025 ShipItCon, Rob and Darryn.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Everybody still awake, yeah?
Yeah, just about.
Cool, right. We're fully aware that we're standing in between you guys and a feed of pints, so we'll sort that out.
You start?
Yeah, go on.
Clicker's not working. That's not a good start.
Fantastic.
Oh, shit.
Oh, back.
All right. Very few of us wake up in the morning thinking, how can I do an exceedingly shitty job today? Mediocrity, here I come. Most of us want to be useful, want to contribute or make an impact, and yet we find ourselves drained in our work, caught up in the process, politics, or plain indifference of getting the job done. And people say, well, that's why they call it work, as if misery was part of the contract. But what if we've gotten it backwards? What if joy in our work isn't a distraction, but joy is the very thing that makes work work? So that's the idea that myself and the handsome Darryn here have been exploring with the Engineering Joy podcast. And it was born, the podcast was born out of burnout and inspired by our late friend Augusto, who was a champion for happiness in the workplace. And through all these conversations, one theme came through clearly time and time again. That's that happy teams drive high performance, not despite joy, but because of it. Oh, I have to go over here with the clicker.
Alrighty. So, we've heard a lot about We've heard a lot about AI. This is what AI gives you. So it's not going to take your job just yet, I don't think, right? Rob has 3 hands. He's bad enough with 2, let's be honest. Anyway, what we're going to be doing, how this is going to flow, right? So we're going to talk about 3 different things. We're going to talk about starting out in your career. We're going to talk about being a team member. And we're going to talk about stepping into leadership. What we're going to do is as Rob said, we've had a podcast for a little while. We've interviewed some people. We're going to use real life stories of their really shitty experiences in work, really cool experiences in work, and then key learnings and takeaways from what we can all do to generate a little bit of joy in our lives, and especially in our offices.
So, some of the people we're going to talk about are actually here today. Oh, shit. Oh, 2, yep. Come back. Yep, there we go. So the first up is Heather, who's actually sitting over here today. So
hi, Heather.
Heather's first job out of university was delightfully described on Glassdoor as a gulag. And it was so stressful that one day Heather found herself in the bathroom vomiting blood. And when she went to her manager, looking to see the doctor, his response was, well, you can't finish till 12:30 because you can only get sick days and half days. And to make things worse, while she was out on sick leave, she got a call from HR saying, you have to return within 3 days or you'll face disciplinary action, despite the fact that she had medical cert, right? And that left Heather with a decade-long fear of taking sick days in work. Something she struggled to get over. And the key lesson here is that inhumane management and policies don't just impact us in the moment. They leave lasting scars that can go on for years and years and years. Oh, sorry. Oh, we're gone.
Yeah, moving on to Sinead, who had a real toxic CEO. Sinead's awesome, by the way. Google Sinead Walsh. They're a stand-up comedian. They've got a show coming up soon. Check it out. Really, really funny stuff. But anyway, Sinead had this CEO working in a company, and they were about to do this big release. And just before the big release, the CEO thrived on anarchy and chaos. And just before the big release, the CEO decided to completely change the entire business model, which led Sinead and her team at the time to really scramble. They had to work all night. And they did. They stayed up all night. They got this piece of work done. They got the thing shipped. Happy days. The CEO came in the next morning. Obviously, he wasn't there over the night, but he came in the next morning and he didn't say, congratulations, thank you very much. He called them all useless. So I've known Sinead a long, long time, and not someone who's going to take that sitting down. So went off on the CEO, was like, this is completely ridiculous. You can't be treating people like this. Sinead eventually ended up leaving the company, moved on to their next role, gets into the next company, everything's going fine. The company isn't as toxic, everyone's real nice, but because of what happened to Sinead in that early job, in the back of their head the whole time, they'd be going into one-to-ones with their manager, they'd be going to meeting different people, and just in the back of their head the whole time is, something's going to happen, something bad's going to happen. It was just pure anxiety from there on, and it was a scar that was left on Sinead, and it just really goes to show that a couple of bad experiences and a couple of bad situations can really, really leave these scars that we carry on then into next jobs.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, look, me, my favourite subject. Yeah. Hello. This is me wandering around the Nevada desert in a mushroom t-shirt looking for aliens. It's a bit of crack. I recommend it. Anyway, my first great manager. So me, out of college, went into my first job. Very similar to Sinead's story, to be fair. Awful experience. Got thrown in the deep end. I was told I wasn't good enough. I was put in probation. I was put in probation twice, and then I was just let go. And it was simply because I wasn't learning fast enough and growing fast enough. Complete junior engineer, straight out of college. Didn't have a clue what was going on. It was years later that I realized that it was the environment that I was put in. There was no learning, there was no safe to fail environment, there was no opportunities for me to kind of fail, and it was completely toxic. So that destroyed me, right? I went home, I was in bits, my confidence was completely shot, and it took me ages then to find another job. Eventually I found another job, happy days. I got hired by our good friend, Augusto Evangelista at the time, and get in, but I'm still shook, right? Like Sinead's story, that scar was still with me. I go into my first one-to-one with Gus, and I have all the documentation filled out, right? I am like not getting trapped again. I have looked up all the HR stuff. I have looked up all the goals and growth stuff, and I've filled in all the boxes, and I bring it into Gus, and I sit down. Now, Gus is real casual, vaping inside in the office because he didn't care. And he's just sitting there, and he's like, yes, how can I help? So I hand in the thing, and I'm like real scared, kind of shivering a little bit, and he goes, oh yeah, this is HR box ticking bollocks. Crumples it up, throws it behind it, and he just looks at me and goes, how can I help you? And it floored me. I was like, wait a minute, what? This is what you're supposed to do? What? And because of that then, like, he took me to conferences, he really encouraged me to go out and speak, to write blogs. It was a great environment, it was a great culture, but he helped heal that scar. But not only that, it was a great example, and it showed us like, okay, I can pay this forward, and this is what I can do to help others, and this is what good looks like. You'll get this clicker working at some point.
Hey. So here's the next story from Colin. And Colin had one of those experiences really early in his career where everything just clicked. And he joined the team that was rebuilding a platform product. And there was real, genuine collaboration in this team between the testers, the developers, the PMs, and all this kind of great stuff. And the team was embodied with this trust and autonomy, and they were learning together, experimenting, reflecting, and coming up with creative solutions and all this kind of great stuff. And the result of that was they released the platform rebuild a week early. It went out smoothly, absolutely no stress, no problems, and all this kind of good stuff. But the key learning from this was that when you have good experiences like that early in your career, it sets the bar. It gives you a standard from which you can evaluate what good looks like. And many, many people we talked to and early in their career went into toxic environments, but they didn't even realize they were toxic because they didn't know what good looked like. So it's really important to try and get those good experiences earlier in your career. Oh, shoot. Oh. There we go.
Right, that takes us on to our first key learning. Early jobs shape your careers, okay? They could be bad or good. They could leave scars that are going to damage you, or they could be great. Like, so for example, Heather's story, my story, Sinead's story. There's scars there that people took to the next job. It took a while. Suddenly you don't trust humans anymore, right? You don't trust management, you don't trust whatever. And that's just because of a couple of bad experiences. The idea here is, though, if we build a good environment for people, they can have Colin's story, where it's great, it's good, we can learn, we can build, and then they can take that into their career and know, wait a minute, this is what good looks like. And then inevitably you do walk into a toxic environment, but you know it's toxic, right? And you're like, okay, I know this is bad. I've seen good. And then you can either try and help change that or leave, right? But it's about making sure that we create that environment early on in people's careers.
And we also want to make sure that you don't take on those toxic behaviors because you think that's what
yeah.
desired behavior looks like, right?
Sure. Wasn't I beaten growing up, so I'm going to beat down.
So key learning number 2 here is that relationships shape our careers. So we need to invest so much in the relationships we build during our careers, because ultimately our happiness and success in our careers is determined by the quality of the relationships that we have. Because when we have great relationships in teams, for example, they give us a sense of belonging. They connect us, they keep us together, and they provide support. Support is really, really happy in terms of celebrating wins together, but also when things are tough, when you're struggling, having that support structure around you, both within your team and your community, is really important. And interestingly enough, having those relationship and that network of people you can depend upon opens doors in your career. I can count how many people I've worked with. Actually, I see someone in the crowd at the moment. I've worked in multiple locations with these people because I know them, I trust them, and I love working with them. Oh. Yeah.
Mentorship, right? This is super important, okay? It helps shape careers. Builds confidence, wisdom, potential, all that stuff. But the fun thing about mentorship is when you're younger and you're starting out, you're looking for a mentor. But as you start going through your career, you become the mentor, right? So if you get into a situation where you had a great mentor and you learned loads, pay it forward. go be that for somebody else. Because it's just the best. And do you know what? It's very rewarding as well.
100%. So, sorry, was that the AI again?
This AI.
So we've talked a lot about the stories from starting out in your career, and you know all the good things around managers and mentors and the bad things and all that stuff. But as you progress in your career, you become the team that you work in and your teammates become much more important. So we're going to step into that stage of the career, being a team member, being a teammate, and we're going to explore some of the stories from that.
Yes, Joe. Joe had a really bad first time in a leadership role. So Joe was pretty young. I think she was about 26 when she got into a management role, leadership role. But it was all very kind of articulated. In Joe's own words, it was, oh, you're a woman, so come on, we need a woman on the leadership team. You're young, we'll bring you in, and that's it. And the rest of the team were men, and they did not respect or treat Joe with any kind of soundness or niceness, right? So what ended up happening was Joe was kind of the token person that they'd go throw stuff at, or because Joe was young, they also managed to underpay her. So it was like, okay, you can be cheap and you're the token, and it was just really brutal. Team didn't respect her. Leadership team that she was working with didn't respect her. There was no room to grow or learn, and it was just very toxic. So I guess what the learning there is like, yeah, okay, let's not just try and tick boxes to get things in. We need to actually, when we say we're going to do something, it has to be with respect. We have to train people, and we have to give them an environment where they can actually learn.
Paddy's here as well today.
Go on the Blues or something.
Wherever he's hiding, maybe he's gone. No, he's at the pub. It's fine. So Paddy's story was really interesting, and it was around leadership and their use of incentives. So Paddy works in the recruitment industry, and typically individuals on the team or teammates get rewarded and get bonused individually. And it creates a situation where people are competing with one another and trying to show each other up, right? What he talked about was an experience where leadership created shared incentives for the whole team, and he saw the culture change overnight. He saw the same teammates working together, sharing information, helping each other out, and celebrating wins together. And when one of them, was stumbling or having challenges, the rest of the team rallied around to help that person because everyone needed to succeed for the team to be successful. And the key lesson that Paddy called out from this is that when leadership align rewards with teamwork, you don't just get high-performing teams, you get teams that genuinely enjoy winning together.
Claudio. So Claudio worked in this thriving environment. Really super cool. He was like, people were happy to come to work in the morning. They loved it. But the reason was because they were allowed experiment. They were allowed fail. They were allowed put stuff out that maybe broke. They were allowed try new things. It was a massive collaboration, fun environment, right? So what that taught him and what that taught, like, taking into his career further was this is what we need to do. We need to set up an environment where it's not just rigid structure, where, you're working in a feature factory where you're pushing stuff out. But no, and experimentation is something you just build in. It's not a hackathon or every
once a year.
Or what's a sprint where you get to play with stuff for a couple of weeks. Yeah. No, it's you continuously built it in, and it's like they were enabling new stuff. Do you know what? With all this AI crap, it's much easier to do it now, right? Are we experimenting with that kind of stuff on a day-to-day basis? This is the stuff Claudio learned, and it worked out real well. But it wasn't just that it worked out well for the people on the team. The software was awesome. And it's back to your point, as you're always saying, Rob, happy people produce happy software. Yeah. I'll give you that one, right? I don't give you much, but...
Thanks, Matt. Oh, so key learning number 4 here is that competition is toxic for teams. So when you have teams where the individuals on the team are competing or they're rewarded for individual contributions, that sets things up in a very negative way, right? Because you're not looking to help each other to succeed, and it's a negative cycle essentially. Whereas when leadership sets up incentives around collaboration and encourages, one of the principles I talk to all the time is the team is the unit of delivery. We succeed and we fail together, right? So if you look at the team as the unit of delivery and you celebrate collaboration, that collaboration builds trust. It builds those relationships and those bonds that I talked about earlier. And again, it creates that support that you need to get you through both the good times and the bad times. And ultimately, it creates teams of people that are happy, that enjoy working together and create better software as a result.
Yeah, teammates shape our daily reality, okay? It's not senior leaders that you're working with all day. It may not even be the leadership team you're working all day. It's the people on your team that are sitting beside you that you're working with all day. And I'm not saying that like senior leaders and managers and stuff aren't important. They are. They need to create an environment. But at the same time, every day, day to day, you're sitting beside people, you're working with them. They're the ones that are going to either make or break your relationship with work, right? Toxic ones are going to erode trust. They're going to ruin the environment. But ones that are like happy and supportive and fun to work with and bring that energy, they're going to make your day, okay? So you need to also be that kind of person, right? Come in with a positive attitude, give it a go, right? And the funny thing is, right, in my experience with toxic people, especially on a team, something else is usually going on. It's not work that's really annoyed them. Something's happening at home or whatever, we don't know. But if you're bringing an environment where it's a bit of fun and you start having fun and other people start having fun around you, they tend to get a bit annoyed and then they kind of tend to get a bit jealous and then they kind of just join in. So it's about creating that culture and you can try and do that yourself. It's interesting. Like people I'm very good at it. You go in and just complain. You're like, oh, but if you're not actually trying to fix the problems yourself or even try and create that culture, it's never going to succeed.
So we're moving on again. Sorry, but that one's really bad.
It's really bad, isn't it?
That's terrible.
That doesn't even look like us.
I'm not that good looking. So now we're moving from this idea of being, teammates or team members towards leadership. And as you progress in your career, you go from experiencing the culture to being the one that shapes it. So like often in leadership positions, it's the things that you do and say every day that have a ripple effect and not just impacting the product itself, but they impact the experience of what it's like to be a part of the team.
Michelle, she's here. Where are you?
How are you, Michelle?
So obviously we saw Michelle speak earlier. Great talk, thanks. But Michelle made me change the slide. I showed it to her beforehand, and it was first management role. And Michelle was like, no, change that to leaders. Because we lead people, we don't manage people. But I think the point there was that even in the role that Michelle was put into, the problem was that it was a management role and it was very box ticky and there was no support and no structure. And it was very much, what is that office space TC report?
TPS reports?
Yeah, TPS reports. It's very much like that, hey, have you got anyone who's under 30? Anybody? Lewis Krellman, you're in here somewhere, aren't you? Yeah. Have you seen Office Space? No, watch Office Space. Really, really good. And the sad thing is it's still relevant now, which is ridiculous, but check it out. But the point is, that was a management role where you're just kind of going in being like, hey, have you ticked the boxes? Have you done this thing? You're, knocking off on holiday requests and that kind of thing. But it's more than that, right? A leadership role is you're trying to build an environment where people can grow as a team and succeed and learn and become kind of better individuals and better at their job. So it's not just box ticking was basically what Michelle learned.
So this story is from Jose. And Jose was a test manager working for a bank. And he approached senior leadership in the bank at one stage to outline how the software wasn't ready to release. It was too immature to release. So the senior management in the bank ignored him and pushed them to release it. They released it, and it failed. And guess what happened when it failed? The senior leadership turned around and started screaming at the staff. And it turned the culture completely toxic, where there was a real deep fear in everyone. So rather than focusing on doing good work and developing a great product, they started to focus on covering their arses. primarily, right? And what this taught Jose is that senior leadership's ego and arrogance not alone destroyed their ability to deliver, it eroded any trust that they had in their people, and it completely set up those teams for failure.
Fernando, the
He's
shit
not
umbrella.
here. We wish he was here. He's famous at this stage.
Yeah, Fernando's class. The editing I had to do for that episode of the podcast, like, just saying, he's got some funny stories. But anyway, Fernando considers himself to be a shit umbrella for his team, and that isn't an umbrella that's shit, right? That's an umbrella that blocks the shit, okay? Just let's clear that up, right? So what his story was, what happened was he's just kind of cavalier attitude to holidays, you know? It's your holiday time, take it whenever you want, right? So that's fine. One day he realized, oh shit, next week, everybody's off. Like, there's no one here to support this. So Fernando, being the legend that he is, cancelled his own holidays and came in on that week to support, and everything was fine, right? He didn't want to have to remove anything. But he's gone to battle with HR for people in his... Anyone from HR in here? Cool, safe space. He's gone to battle. He's gone to battle with HR for his people. He's really like made sure that they do not know the bullshit that goes on in certain areas. And the cool thing about that is when Fernando needs him, because they trust him now, so when Fernando needs somebody to do something for him, it's like, hey, could you do this extra thing? They have no problem with it. They know what he's doing. There's a really good relationship there, and you know, they're like, they've become very close, and he can just be like, hey, look, I know this is a bit shitty, but this happened. Can you fix it? Straight away, they'll be like, yeah, no problem, Fernando. That episode's well worth a listen, to be honest. He's a very funny man.
So Jose gets a second mention here. So Jose has another story, but this time it's from later in his career. So he's a CEO, and he also is the organizer of a conference called Agile Testing Days, which is a conference that both myself and Darren have been at on numerous occasions, but never together.
No, thankfully.
Yeah, so...
Thankfully for
probably
Potsdam.
a good thing. It's probably a good thing. So Jose talked to us about Agile Testing Days and about how he didn't bring individuals. He brought whole teams along to Agile Testing Days so that they could learn together, build relationships, and bring that back. And when he was working with his team and with the speakers for the conference, he actively sought out new ideas, especially the crazy ones, because that's where innovation happens. And the result of that was a really electric conference where people feel accepted, embraced, and energized in that atmosphere. And his key leadership philosophy boils down to something very, very simple, which is lead with love and empower and trust your teams. And when you do that, you're not just creating, great software products or a great conference, you're building amazing communities and groups of people.
So, number 6 on our key learnings, right? Great leaders create safety, fuel learning, and model vulnerability. I think the last one is probably the most important, right? As a leader, it's really important to put your hand up and be like, yeah, I don't have a fucking clue how to do that either. But, we can figure it out together. Or, yeah, I'm also having a bad week, this is happening. But the more I've found with people anyway, the more you open up and just be like, listen, this is what happened to me in my life. They're going to open up to you. And then you get into a situation, especially in some one-to-ones, where people will come and say, look, I'm having a bad week. This is happening. Can we do this? And because you end up building that trust and relationship and forming those kind of bonds, it makes life much, much easier. It makes the environment much nicer. And everyone's just kind of happier in work, right? So I think that's super, super important.
So from my perspective, great leadership is all about people, not getting tasks done, not delivering work. It's not about micromanagement, right? It's about, as I said, connecting with people, caring for people, and empowering those people. So like great leaders, they treat people like adults, right? They assume positive intent. They care about people's well-being, and they care about their careers, not just on their output and what they're delivering. And great leaders, again, they lead with context and purpose. They outline what we're trying to do, or what we're trying to achieve and why we're trying to achieve it, and they give their teams the freedom and the autonomy to figure out how we're going to achieve that. So as I said, great leaders lead with context and care and empower with trust and autonomy.
Alrighty.
I look like Rory Best in this one.
Yeah, you do, yeah. It's the one that looks most like us, in fairness, right? But anyway, this is the last bit, right? I promise we're nearly
Hold
done.
on,
right?
hold on, we're nearly
So,
there.
from stories to takeaways, right? We've heard a lot of stories. What can you guys start doing tomorrow to create some joy in your workplace?
Yeah, there we go. So if you're out there, there's people at different stages in their career. So if you're asking what practical things can we do to engineer joy for newbies or new starters, people who are looking to get into the tech industry, well, if I'm a new starter or a newbie, what I want to do is I want to focus on seeking out and joining companies that prioritize learning and support. Because based on everything we said, your success and happiness in your career is going to be largely shaped, especially early, by the culture you find yourself in. So seek out cultures and environments where they prioritize learning and support of people. Now, if you're a team member or you're in a team and you're wondering, how can I, help new joiners and newbies start? Try and empathize and be generous with your time. Give them your time, share context. Check in with them often, make sure they're doing okay, and if they need any help or guidance or support, obviously offer it. And help them feel like they belong, that they're part of the team and they're contributing something useful. And if you're a leader, again, we've talked about this already, create a safe space for people. Make sure they understand that making mistakes and failure is a part of learning. Talk to the mistakes that you've made yourself so that they know it's a part of the journey. They don't have to be perfect. And also, you want to pair them with mentors. You saw how powerful it was with Gus. You want to have people that they can go to for guidance and support, who've been there, who've made the mistakes, and help them avoid some of the pitfalls that we've all fallen into.
Right. How do we create some joy in teams? If you're a new starter, you're new in the area, and you're new on the team, make sure the onboarding stuff's right, Bring some positive energy and ask for help, right? And
not the jaded old people like us, right?
No, yeah, 100%, yeah. But come on, ask for help, get in there. It's okay to do that, and make sure that you know it's okay to fail, right? For a teammate with a new starter, make time to connect with these people, pair with them, celebrate all the wins, right? Celebrate the wins as a team, celebrate the wins for the individual. Create that culture of fun and enjoyment, right? For leaders, just make sure all that shit happens, right? That's simple, right? Reward the team, make sure that they're in a safe to fail environment, remove pain and add fun, right? Make sure people are just happy to be in their job. Because
I think anything that we can do can be made a little bit more enjoyable,
Yeah.
a little bit more fun if you just simply try.
Exactly.
Right, so we're nearly there. So engineering joy for leaders, everyone forgets about leaders. Leaders they shouldn't be the miserable people in the corner that have to deal with all this shit. We should have to try create, joyful environment for our leaders too. And if I'm a new starter, I'm bringing fresh eyes, right? I can bring a fresh perspectives and bring honest opinions that allow our leaders to identify gaps that others maybe haven't identified or brought up. For teammates, you've got to support the people and the leaders in your team. It can be lonely being a leader, I assure you, right? So raise issues, bubble them up early, and
Tough at the top.
and give constructive feedback that supports the leaders, right? And don't just gripe and whine. Be a part of the solution. Work with them to solve problems. Try to nip them in the bud early before they become a bigger issue. Don't leave those issues just silently sit there. And lastly, leaders, right? I think Michelle talked about this, going into leadership positions with no support, no training. If you're a leader in an organization, support the new leaders. Set out clear expectations. Go through what success looks like. Invest in training and mentorship and guiding. And as I said, offer ongoing support. Take the time to work with them, give them feedback that can guide them along so that those leaders can create the environments that everyone else can, one, be happy and two, be successful.
Be the shit umbrella for the shit umbrellas, All right, Last slide. Joy is not a distraction. Joy is what makes work work, right? So I know it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, my face is on the T-shirt and Rob's in there twice for some reason.
Yeah.
It's taking your jobs, I'm telling you. Right?
I was hoping we could get the suits and actually.
I know, we should have bought the suits. It would have been gas. But anyway.
We'd be too handsome. It'd be ridiculous.
Bring joy to your office. Ask yourself tomorrow, right, when you go back to work on Monday or whatever, what can I do? What one small thing can I do today that will make work just a bit more fun for everybody, right? So thanks for listening to us. Also, I'd like to add that the podcast is still ongoing. If you think you'd have a bit of crack and you've got some stories to come tell us, come up, talk to us afterwards, and we'll sort that out. If you know anyone that you think would be a bit of crack, send them our way. We'd love to interview you. It's a bit of fun. I'm going to leave the last word to Rob because, you know, you love having the last word.
I've nothing prepared, so thanks very much, everyone. And as I said, do your best to go away, go back to work and try and create little moments of joy in your teams. Those little moments, those little actions every day accumulate, and life's too short to be fucking miserable. So go out there and try and enjoy yourselves.
It's true. Right. Thank you very much.
So I had some closing remarks, but that entire presentation felt like a personal attack because I am HR, so thanks for that, Darren. Check the side of the podium next time. Check the side of the podium next time. We are not your enemy, okay? We have a job to do. We got bills to pay, got kids to feed, okay? No, but seriously, guys, thank you so much for closing out ShipItCon for 2025 and dropping the final golden nuggets, the dynamic duo. So I do hope you've enjoyed today's speakers with our lineups and soaked up all the knowledge and wisdom that was shared today. So before I go on to my concluding speech, my final remarks,